speaking with Jeremy Carlson. Thanks, Jeremy, for driving all the way down from Washington, D.C.
You traveled farther than I did.
So. That's true, but I had a plane.
Indeed.
So I just wanted to get your take on where Spirio Cast is happening right now in the world, and where do you think it's going to go from here?
Yeah, so as of right now, Spirio Cast is a technology that will allow a Spirio owner to watch a live concert in their home, or in a case like this, where we could have a piano on stage and have a screen and be watching a live show and have the piano executing very faithfully everything that the pianist is doing, which is a pretty amazing thing to be able to experience from a long distance away. I think, in the context of a music school like this, I think one of the coolest potential uses for SpirioCast is piano competitions, and also even maybe possibly audition for music schools remotely. Just as an example, last year there's a music academy, the Kirov Academy in DC, which had been holding an international competition every year. When COVID hit and the pandemic was on us, those students could not travel internationally to DC. So we actually used the Spirio. People who wanted to compete found their way to the closest Spirio, wherever that was to them. We had people do recordings in Seoul, South Korea, and Texas, all over the world. They made their performance on a Spirio, and they were videotaped at the time. And then all those performances were sent to us in Washington, D.C., where we had a jury assembled, as we normally would in a competition. And that jury was able to experience all of those performers playing on the same piano right there in front of them. So they were able to really assess those performances in a way that they wouldn't have been able to if they had just been videotaped in their respective locations. They wouldn't really have the ambiance of the room. They wouldn't have, there would be a lot of different factors making those performances, sort of unjudgeable. But because they were all happening in one location on one piano, they were able to actually have that competition. And it was amazing to me, to be able to see the talent from around the world. And I think the jury was really blown away by how accurately, those performances were able to come out. So to me, that's the most exciting thing, this being used as an educational tool. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, doing master classes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that was what I was getting at. I think eventually that's going to be the big thing for this is, and not only to have a, performer and then a receiver, but have it be a point-to-point thing where we can have the two pianos communicating to each other and passing that information back and forth. I think that's going to be really the culmination of what this technology can do.
Yeah. I think it's incredible how Steinway has gotten so many Spirios out there in the world, considering the added cost, but it's all around the world now, right?
Yeah, the last time I was at the factory, I think total production at the factory of all the pianos they were putting out, somewhere around 60% Spirios of everything.
So it's everything?
Yes, that's the number that I was given.
Wow.
And I think the popularity of Spirio has just blown everybody away. So and that's certainly been the case in our market in DC. I mean, as soon as we can get our hands on them, they're out the door for the most part. So.
But here's the thing: if you're going to buy a Spirio, you have to get a great Spirio technician, because the piano has to be calibrated, and it doesn't work without really good fine tuning and listening.
It's not a DIY kind of thing, I would say.
Yeah. So that's why thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
This concert would not sound the same without you're actually working on it.
Well, I wouldn't be as good as my job if I didn't have somebody cracking the whip and telling me whether or not I'm doing it right. So I appreciate that. So thank you.
All right. Thanks. It's interesting to be sitting there watching the calibration of the keys happen because I can replay in my head the amount of effort that I wanted on each of those notes and then check to see if the relationship between the notes were actually coming out the way that I imagined it. And most of it was, but actually I was surprised that some of the notes had more force than I realized. And I think it's because of the size of the hall in here. There's more projection that needs to happen, and so I use more effort than I normally would at home.